The rain was falling in a steady rhythm over the hallowed ground of Arlington National Cemetery. Every drop echoed softly against the gleaming white marble, creating a silence so powerful that even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The tomb of the unknown soldier stood beneath the gray sky, guarded with unwavering precision. Among the silent protectors stood Sergeant Daniel Cole, a tomb guard whose posture never faltered. For years, he had lived by a sacred tradition. No matter what happened, weather, noise, or chaos, he would never break his post. His polished shoes gleamed, his movements precise, his eyes sharp. Yet on this cold afternoon, as he marched with measured steps, something unusual flickered at the edge of his vision, a girl standing near the far end of the barricade, her face pale and lips trembling. She was maybe 15, clutching a small red ribbon in her hand. Her eyes darted toward Daniel, and in a motion almost too subtle to notice, she twisted the ribbon twice, then dropped it to her side. It was not random. Daniel, a veteran trained to recognize distress signals, knew this pattern. It was an old emergency code once used in his unit overseas, a silent call for help. Every instinct in Daniel's body told him to remain still. The tomb guard's creed was clear: no movement, no distraction, no deviation. For decades, no guard had ever broken the sacred line during their watch. But as the girl's shaking hand repeated the signal, Daniel's military senses screamed that something was terribly wrong. His heartbeat pounded in his ears louder than the tapping rain. Just behind the girl, a tall man in a dark jacket stood too close, his posture tense, his hand hidden in his pocket. Daniel's sharp eyes caught the slight bulge beneath the man's jacket: concealment. Not a wallet, not a phone, something heavier. Daniel's grip on his ceremonial rifle tightened as he calculated the distance, the risk, and the consequences. If he moved, it would break decades of sacred honor. If he didn't, the girl could disappear into danger forever. The weight of history pressed against his chest. His boots felt like they were anchored to centuries of unbroken discipline. And then she looked straight into his eyes, not as a stranger, but as if silently pleading, "Please help me." The crowd around the tomb remained respectfully quiet, unaware of the silent war unfolding. The man's hand shifted lower, and the girl's breathing quickened. Daniel's training took over. His right foot slid back, a breach of the guard line. A ripple of gasps spread through the watching visitors. No tomb guard ever moved like that unless something critical happened. A fellow guard nearby stiffened in shock, but Daniel's mind had already left the tradition behind. In one swift, controlled motion, he pivoted and stepped off the ceremonial mat, eyes locked on the threat. His polished rifle lowered slightly, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Sir, step back." The man froze for half a second, startled. The girl stumbled backward, bumping against the iron fence. A single moment stretched into eternity. Then, with terrifying speed, the man grabbed her arm and tried to pull her away from the crowd. That was all Daniel needed. Centuries of silence shattered with the thunder of his boots as he broke the final line and sprinted forward. Time slowed to a razor's edge as Daniel charged toward them. His body moved with the precision of a soldier, not a ceremonial figure. Rainwater splashed beneath his boots as he raised the rifle, not as a weapon to fire, but as a tool to disarm. The man swung his arm, revealing a small black pistol glinting in the gray light. The crowd screamed, stumbling backward. Daniel didn't hesitate. He slammed the rifle against the man's forearm, twisting with trained strength, forcing the weapon to the ground with a sharp crack. The girl fell to her knees, crying. Daniel grabbed the man's jacket, twisted his arm behind his back, and pinned him to the wet stone before he could even shout. Sirens began to wail in the distance as security forces rushed forward. But in that moment, under the pouring rain, the scene was burned into history, a tomb guard breaking a sacred tradition to save an innocent life. As the man was dragged away in handcuffs, Daniel stood soaked, chest heaving, rifle back at his side. The girl was wrapped in a warm security blanket, whispering tearful thanks. For the first time in his service, Daniel felt the weight of the oath he had just broken. Officers and superiors gathered around, faces a mix of shock and respect. No one had expected him to act, but none could deny what he had done. Days later, headlines across the country told the story of the guard who defied centuries of tradition to protect a life. Yet, when asked if he regretted it, Daniel only said, "Tradition is sacred, but life is priceless." At the next ceremony, he returned to his post, not as a man who broke the line, but as the one who proved that honor isn't just in standing still. Sometimes, true honor is found in the courage to move.